If you're enjoying the way that I'm speaking about poker, teaching poker, I do have a website, charliecarrel.com. Link is in the description below. You'll find on there a mindset masterclass, which I think is the most important, teaching you how to deal with tilt, anxieties, ambition, things like that. You'll find a poker masterclass completely teaching you how to restructure the way that you think about poker. And you'll find a complete archive of the bankroll challenge. This hand really wants like a huge SPR. Like ideally, everyone would just have 50K and then we could, make it 500. But given that there's like a range of stacks, including the most relevant stack, the guy that limped, with these kind of hands and other hands like 6-7 suited, pocket deuces, hands like that, we really want a big SPR because the reason for that is that when we hit, we're going to hit fucking big usually, especially when it's multi-way. We're either going to hit a flush or a straight, or we're just not going to hit at all. So I'd go smaller. If I had ace king, I'd probably go bigger. Or you could. The other option is you could just go really big and try and get a bunch of fold equity versus the button. But personally, I'd make it like 325 probably.
4 ways to a flop with about 2,000 in the middle. Let's go to a flop.
He does have 25K stack.
8, 2 hearts.
Maybe he just rebuys. Maybe he just loses his time.
We have a flush draw. This is a absolute monster flop for us. So loving my hand right now. I start off with a bet of $1,200 into the.
All right, guys, it's on us. I think we're out of position to everyone. First off, I assume that we're playing against a bunch of recreational players. Just looking at the hands that they're playing and the way that they've played it, I think everyone apart from maybe this guy is definitely a recreational player, and probably just all three of them. Definitely not checking range. That's some GTO shit. If we got pocket eights here and we're checking, it's terrible. Terrible. However, the chances that somebody has a piece that's not folding, meaning a flush draw, queen 10, 10-9, or an ace, maybe even a jack, it's just too fucking high. And if they don't, very often it checks around, we can bet turn. So I love a check. I love a check. But trying to fold these guys, let's say one of them just has like fucking ace-5 suited, ace-10. This is a lesson that I taught one of my students. Actually, I've taught many of my students, but one in particular. He had this really, really good feeling for when he can make people fold. But he just had this weird tendency where it's just like, well, I want to get the maximum fold equity, so I'm just going to go 3x pot, shove river. He would just find the most ludicrously big ways to play his shitty hands. And then when he had a value hand, it'd be like 2/3 pot, 1/3 pot. And the result of that is like he was playing all of the big pots he had fucking nothing. And all of the small pots he had the nuts. Obviously not all of them. So the concept to draw away from that, to extrapolate from that little story. If you can find a small way to bluff, do it. If it's like relatively similar fold equity, it might even be larger fold equity, because you just don't want to be bluffing off a stack, especially against recreational players. Now, that's not always the case. It's not always the case. But if you can find like a legitimately logically sound way to bluff small, and then find a legitimately logically sound way to value bet big, in general, you're going to be playing big pots with big hands and small pots with small hands. And against recreational players, this is just a tendency that you should be trying to look at your game with. Just a lens to be looking through. Definitely not a black and white, always do this, always do that. But it's definitely a really powerful way to go into a game.
The field. Action fold to the cutoff player who decides to put in a raise, and we're out of position. We know that Reza certainly can have the ability to bluff a lot, and honestly, our hand is pretty sick with so much equity.
Wow, we're pretty deep, huh? It's 250 bigs. So the first thing you want to be asking yourself in pretty much every single poker decision that you have is, first of all, what is the range of hands that the opponent can possibly have? If I'm in the situation the Rampage is in, and let's say I can't see his cards, when somebody raises here, even if he's pretty loose, he's seen me raise 5x pre-flop. He's seen me bet into 3 people on a very, very draw-heavy, scary board. My range is meant to be fucking like ace-queen plus, and, combo draws and shit. So his range, if he's raising for value, has got to be like ace-8 plus, maybe even ace-jack plus. So that's ace-jack, probably has all offsuit combos if he's a recreational player. Ace-8 probably just has the suited, 3 of them. Maybe jack-8 suited, another 3 combos. Don't know if he raises that, might do. What else has he got? He's got king, queen of hearts. He's got other king X of hearts, potentially. I probably wouldn't expect him to have just like king deuce, king 3, king 4 of hearts. He might have something like queen 9 of hearts. No, we got the 9. Fuck, we actually do block all the fucking... Wow, we're just up against ace jack a lot here, huh? Yeah, we're just fucking yeah. Queen Jack of Hearts might be some Jack X of Hearts in there. King Jack and Queen Jack and fucking Jack 7 of Hearts maybe. But yeah, that's just Ace Jack a lot. So I would imagine that we have very very limited fold equity. Every now and again it's King Queen of Hearts, which really fucking sucks. Like really really sucks. And we just get to yeah. The decision I think is pretty simple. You just want to be calling. Super deep. If we get it in versus pocket eights, it's a disaster. I don't know how much of a disaster it is. Probably have like 41% or something. But for 250 bigs, it's not great. And yeah, I imagine the fold equity is just fucking nothing. So I'm calling. It's a very very nice situation where if the turn comes straight, we probably stack him, or we probably get most of his chips. If the turn comes a flush, he will play his hand really face up. Let's say the turn's like a deuce of hearts, and we check, and he bets like pot, like 9,000 or something like that. We can probably even just fucking fold. We can probably even just fold. Because if we really think that his range is that narrow, which it really should be, he's just got like the nut flush all the time. Maybe he turns up with a smaller flush draw, but it just seems really unlikely. So I'd say calling just makes life really, really easy. We don't end up getting fucking stacked by pocket eights bunch. And especially when we're going to be playing against recreational players, going to be playing relatively face up on most streets. Calling seems real nice.
And I have intentions of just trying to get money in the middle.
Huh.
So with about 25,000 starting in our stack,
his hoodie says folding is boring and his cap says luck. Is that his merchandise by any chance?
$10,000 back onto the cutoff player. We
I really like it.
Money in the middle. Reza is not afraid. He rips it all in, and onto me. Look, we're just going to snap call this.
The other guy just fucking.
We already committed a high percentage of our stack, and we're happy to go with it. If we're up against.
Oh, that is a nervous looking Rampage. I'm gonna do my live reading abilities here. And fair enough, if he's playing, if he's like a 2-5 player, then he's playing for a 50k fucking pot. But that is a nervous looking dude. Should we just get some live reads?
We already committed a high percentage of our stack, and we're happy to go with it.
The thinness of his mouth is.
And sadly,
his heart must be fucking racing through the roof.
He has King 4 of Hearts.
It's his merchandise, guys. I'm just gonna give a shout out to Rampage's merchandise. He may not have played this flop too well, in my opinion. I think he made a couple of small errors. I'd say maybe 3-bet in the flop's actually pretty bad. Not terrible, it's just not great. However, his merchandise seems really fucking cool. I really like that hoodie.
To win this pot. We agreed to run it twice, and with over
his opponent's 300k loser in the past month of the show.
Middle, by far the biggest hand we ever played.
Why doesn't England have shows like this? It's so sad.
Far. Hit that like button. We need to hit at least one of these boards
Already done it.
Scoop the pot. Any offsuits, Queen, 10, 9.
Favorite hand.
Hit.
First round.
Yes, boys.
To breathe a sigh of a flush.
Hit.
So as anticlimactic as it is, we get to chop this pot up here in this session.
No, they have aces in
action folds to Eli
Ace
and the button who opens it up to $300. The blinds fold to me, and we're on the straddle with King 9 of Hearts. Seems like an okay candidate to 3-bet. I honestly think in hindsight we could call a lot of the time, but we're stuck.
King 9 suited ain't the best kind of spot to be 3-betting. King 9 itself, when you hit a king, you don't get much value because everyone puts you on ace king. When you hit 9, you're not fucking happy because there's usually an overcard or it's just not the best spot. And also when you hit Queen Jack 10, everyone puts you on ace king, and you could get cooled by ace king yourself.
Trying to target some wider ranges that he might be opening with. I 3-bet to 1,200, and he makes the call.
No, I don't think he's trying to appease people too much. I'm sure he's aware that others are going to be watching, but I think honestly he's just as a coach. I think he's got an okay thought process. You know, I think he's not got too much experience, which is, you know, you can't help that. But he's actually got an okay thought process. Like his thought process tends to be, this is what my opponent's range is, and this is what I'm going to be doing about it. And that's exactly what it needs to be. He does have a little bit of mess there. He does have a little bit of, like, sometimes I'll do this or free, like, you know, a bit of balance and a bit of whatever. And as a coach, I honestly think I could make him significantly better at poker if I just had, like, half an hour of his time and just told him what to not think. But as he's only been playing 2 to 3 years, I think he's playing pretty well. And maybe he's not playing pretty well. He's thinking really well, which is a really good sign. Which is a really, really good sign. I would be very motivated if I were his coach, because I think that he's managed to sift through a lot of the bullshit, especially given how much bullshit's out there. And he's getting a clear and concise thought process, which is, I guarantee, more than what most people have. Most people there are just fucking like unblocking frequencies and shit. He's actually like, okay, this is what I think his range is, and this is what I'm gonna do about it. It's not the best, but it's promising for sure.
We're off to a flop of 4-3-7 rainbow. We have absolutely nothing going on for us.
All right, I like going small and barreling turns. I don't like going big because you want him to call a bunch of his hands like ace highs, and then you want to be barreling them off on the turn. The cool thing about this is that we could just have aces, obviously, and it's a very low board. So imagine he's got something like pocket sixes, 7-8. The turn is very often going to be a really shitty card for him. So if the turn's anything like a 9, a 10, a jack, a queen, a king, or an ace, we've got some really nice barrel spots, or a heart. Even if the turn's a fucking deuce, we're going for it. So I like going small here and just getting him to call all his one pair hands. He's probably going to raise all his like straights or sets. And then we just get to barrel loads of turns. But you don't want to be going too big, because then he starts folding all his ace highs. And this is one of the key concepts that you won't hear other people say, which is, I think, is fucking crazy. When you're bluffing and you're confident that you're going to be able to bluff turns a lot of the time, technically you want to value bet. You know, you want to value bet against, let's say he's got ace jack here. You want to value bet the flop, meaning that you're going to get him to call the flop, knowing you're going to be betting the turn almost always. So you got to value bluff, you know, and it's such a consistent thing that you can do against recreational players and professional players. And for some reason, I never hear people say that. They're like, if you can make ace high fold here, that's a win. It's like, well, it is, but you could also get money out of that ace high and then make it fold itself. And yeah, it's something I really never hear anyone else say, which is, in my opinion, it's just it's fucking insane.
And I probably should be checking a lot of the time here, but we have air. We are stuck.
Nah, don't check it, dude.
Win this by checking.
You can have aces.
So I bet out 1,000.
What if he has jack 10?
And for $1,000, he makes the call.
I like it. 1,000's
Go
good.
into a turn which is the 8 of clubs. So
there
this
we go.
board just keeps
Keep
getting
going.
worse and worse.
Barrel it off.
Once again with nothing, I bet out 1,700.
I don't like the size, but it's not terrible.
A note that checking here probably would be the right play. But
nah, dude, you're playing to GTO if, in hindsight. I love how you're playing it. Go a bit bigger, a little bit bigger. You got to rep aces. You got to think like, what would he expect me to do with aces?
100. Once again, Eli makes the call.
But that river's going to be a fucking
river with a big pot developing.
10.
The river comes a board pairing 3.
Perfect.
And
I'm all in.
Board pairs certainly
I'm all
better
in.
for me than him.
Great, I love it.
And give him the line. I'm not giving up. Got to keep repping a strong hand, as I clearly have a terrible one. I size up to $6,500.
I'd prefer a shove,
we're
but
just
whatever.
praying Eli ends up folding. He thinks about it for a while, and if he makes the call on this, we are going to be stuck a shit ton. But I'm praying for a fold, and
Wow,
he
he's
ends up
tanking
listening
ace-5,
to
that's
my
kinda scary.
prayers and does fold his ace high, although he seemed a little suspicious of it. Slowly.
I could see an argument for giving up the river, honestly. Like, if he does have fucking pocket sixes, he might just end up calling. Yeah, but I'd probably shove.
Chipping up one bluff at a time. I'm happy that this one got through, but this was a little nerve-wracking to sweat out this while he was tanking. I'm glad he didn't hero me off with.
I don't think any pairs fold on the river. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think checking. There's a really good argument for it. It depends on the player type. Like, some people are just never folding any pair, and some people are just folding all pairs underneath like tens. So it depends on the dude.
Safe to say that the session didn't go as expected.
How did you do?
Or planned or anything like that at all. We were in the game for $98,000. Out of the game for a whopping $76,470. I actually had an AMA live stream with Mariano as well on my channel. So if you want to go check that, click the link somewhere on this screen.
He's a good YouTuber. I could probably take some notes about how to fucking advertise and do intros and outros and shit like that. Shout out to that. You love to see it.